All right. What's up, Blueprint family? Thank you all for joining us tonight. Tonight is Thursday. Preseason football. Preseason football is the night, y'all. Thank you all for joining us. Because I think the game is on right now, matter of fact. But you are here with us tonight. That speaks volumes. We really appreciate it.
And for you. Thank you for
me too.
doing this.
I forgot to record the game. So hopefully I can
No, it's already auto record.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I
honey.
already said that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you for looking out.
Oh, yes.
And we got the our Instagram followers, viewers are coming in. Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah.
And our YouTube followers are coming in as well. We started on time tonight, so
trying to let everybody come on in, because usually we be running a little late with our kids and just life and sometimes technical issues. But tonight, the stars aligned. Mm-hmm. So that's good. We hope everybody else had a great day today. It's almost Friday. Man, that's
we had an interesting caller last night. I like to say that we want to welcome anybody who wants to join in live with us. This is a live show. If you feel compelled to ask us questions and you need help live online, by all means, please do so. Mm-hmm. We really appreciate the input, and also we hope that our advice can give you some insight, and also provide you with some additional information that you may have not known. But when we get those calls, it dawns on me how much our society needs shows like these, needs this type of positive feedback. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there are people out there who really need help. Their backs are against the wall, needing some sort of advice, anything, because they don't have parents, they don't have anyone to go to. And we want to be that light for you all, as far as trying to shed light on a situation that you're going through, whether it's dark or what have you, like that gentleman who called in last night. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I just wanted to put this out there. If he's going to see this video, it is difficult to try to get custody of your child, being the fact that you live in two different states. So that's the reason why my wife was very imperative about trying to negotiate with your baby mama and trying to get custody of the child, and the fact that he's hit his preteen years. But I would say that also to consult with a lawyer to see what your options are, because it's going to be very tough. But
it's still on your heart. That's sweet. Yeah, because it just shows how we really genuinely do look to help when doing this. And oftentimes when we think about it, leave us sometimes even thinking about other solutions of like later on, because we're a very solution oriented type family. It's kind of how we operate. Yeah. So
this is I mean, I would want somebody to do that for me, and we're doing this for free, Mm-hmm. So we really care about our community, you all, our viewers, and our subscribers. We really do care about you all. So if no one else cares, I just want to let you know that we do here at Blueprint Family, Jules. Yeah. So,
and you are a part of the Blueprint family. I was trying to, when you start all this, you don't think about like, I guess the whole look, so much of it, because this was kind of genuine for us. So we didn't so much care about like how this was gonna, we wanted it to present this nice, but thinking about like a tribe and stuff. Everybody, when I go and watch other videos, they have their whole little audience with the different name and stuff like that. And so I had to sit back and think, and I just love that you had just naturally started saying like, this is the Blueprint family. Yeah. And so I really do want to point that out, that you by being here and supporting us, like, welcome to the Blueprint family. We are all genuinely a part of that Blueprint family, because we're trying to do this right and get this right for our next generations. And, that goes for us and for y'all and for everybody that comes across this video. So thank y'all for joining and supporting us
now or 100 years from now.
Yeah.
If you come across this, you are a part of the Blueprint family. In other words, you're a part of the solution. That's the way I like to look at it.
And working actually to make change within your environment and the world around you, because that's important. And the nice thing is, I feel that change with a lot of conflict. That's what I always think about. Conflict brings about change. And there's a lot of conflict right now, and I feel like a lot of people are waking up right now and coming to some hard realizations, maybe some real realizations. Like it's just,
some revelations.
Yeah. But that actually brings us to our topic right on tonight. Stop self-sabotaging your love life. And we've had this topic before, but this was actually a great question that we had. And it was a really simple question that just said, how do I know if I'm self-sabotaging my relationship? That was the question. And it was, really straightforward to the point, but it got us thinking, like, we haven't covered this in a while. So let's go ahead and do some topics as far as self-sabotaging when you're dating, as well as self-sabotaging in a marriage, because those are two totally different characteristics and kind of what that can look like. And I don't think we've ever broke it down separately. So we got a good old show for y'all tonight, because that's what we're gonna do.
Yep.
Yeah. So hold on, let me check on the comments. I'm trying to making sure that we are up on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, trying to stay with all the comments. So if we miss a comment as we go along, like, we will be sure to look at it. So, and all the requests and stuff like that too. So let's dig on in though as we get into our notes.
Yep. So self-sabotage is a complex behavior that can be hard for a person to recognize about themselves for a few reasons.
Yeah.
So number one, it's often unconscious. So people who self-sabotage are often not aware that they're doing it. They may justify their behavior by telling themselves that they're not good enough, that they don't deserve success, or that they're not ready to take on a challenge.
Yeah. Yep. So it's certainly unconscious, I think. And we wanted to say that in particular, why, why it's hard to recognize.
Wouldn't one of them be like the fear, like it's not going to happen anyway, or it's going to end, it's going to end anyway in divorce, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, usually it's really rooted in the thoughts. And we're going to talk about, some sources deeper, little late, after, as we go on. But that's certainly when it comes to mind. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably one of the most common one that I see out here. Or hear that, based on my past relationship, the guy that I'm with now, I hear this from women, that it ain't gonna work out anyway, or whatever the case may be. So
it's really unconscious and deep within,
right,
that you just might not even notice because it's repetitive.
Unfortunately,
and in fact, it can also be hidden from others. So because it's in your thoughts, in your brain, it's you're the one that's actually not only creating it, but you're going through it, and it's kind of hard to recognize from other people per se. Like, so for example, someone who procrastinates on a project, then they may not, tell anybody that they're procrastinating on it, but it's still self-sabotaging, even though, it's going unnoticed by someone else. So it doesn't have to be like a direct result, a direct cause or effect onto something else. It's just naturally something that you within yourself would be doing to yourself in a way. So it may not impact, that's where I'm looking, impact other people or other things, per se.
And then also self-sabotaging behaviors are often cyclical. So for example, someone who fails a test might start to think that they're not good enough or smart enough, and then avoid taking risks in the future. So this can lead to further failure, which can reinforce the negative self-beliefs that led to self-sabotage in the first place.
Just like that thought of, if you think one bad thought, then the next bad thought will follow it, and then the next bad thought will follow that. Right. And it's just like you'll dig yourself in a hole more and more and more, and you're not, even realize that it just all came from just that one thought,
Or either or those people who don't try relationships again.
Yeah, for sure. Because of course, self-sabotage is naturally extremely emotionally painful. Like, within, for you to go through any type of self-sabotaging behaviors, oftentimes you're doing it to avoid feeling the negative emotions, the hurt from that past relationship again, the hurt or the fear or the anxiety or the shame or the embarrassment from like failing or anything like that, that's very difficult for a person to recognize, because they're in a way like a protective survival mechanism. You're trying to not let yourself get hurt or feel that pain, when in actuality you really should sometimes face your emotions head on, so that you're not allowing your fear to cripple you, because it will cripple you in other ways. It's that cyclical cycle that we were talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
And then mental health conditions. So are we there yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So mental health.
Well, the variety of factors
Oh,
that
I thought
can
you talked
contribute
about that
to
already. The trauma. My fault. So self-sabotage can be caused by a variety of factors, and of course, trauma. So people who have experienced trauma, such as abuse, neglect, or violence, may be more likely to self-sabotage as a way of coping with the pain and negative emotions associated with trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always talk about trauma. That's deeply rooted in society and really self-explanatory. That's usually the main reason why somebody will self-sabotage. So
Of
we kind
course,
of don't really have to dig too much into that, but that can't
they could
let a
be
day go by without
right.
recognizing that. Yeah.
Yeah, they could be avoidant, um, anxious, all of
Mm-hmm.
those things
Mm-hmm.
when faced with challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And then also to mental health conditions.
Yeah.
Mental health conditions such as anxiety, depression, and borderline personality disorders can also contribute to self-sabotaging behavior. These conditions can cause people to have distorted thinking patterns, difficulty regulating emotions, and impulsive behavior, all of which can lead to self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mental health.
Yeah.
Not something, it's underrated a lot, I think, within our community. But one
I
thing I
think
do like, we're talking about it more,
right.
right?
Yeah. And I think more and more people in this generation, well, not this, but more so in this day and age, more and more people are actually seeking help with mental health, even in our Black and brown communities as well, as opposed to 10 years or 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
or 20 years ago, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. People, back then they just said that somebody was just crazy, and then they just left it up to that. But more and more people are actually, especially, people, I think like more so, well, people that I know that I work with, they are seeking therapy.
Mm-hmm.
They have therapists, and they openly will say that, well, I talked to my therapist the other day, and they said this about me and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, interesting.
Yeah,
So
it's a slippery slope, I think, in my personal opinion. This isn't, just personal opinion when it comes to therapy a lot, because I think a lot of, in order for therapy to be effective, is you have to go about doing also the self-help, the self-work that needs to be done, and not so much just be dependent on somebody else telling you what's wrong with you. You know what I mean? Like, because in a way, that's sure, there may be objective opinion, but you are the only one who is with you in your thoughts and in your head continuously every day. So at sometimes when somebody be like, oh, it's just this, that label will cause you to think like, oh, well, I figured it out, so now I don't have to, do the work to actually go about my day and fixing what's wrong, or, doing the further work to not just chalk it up to that and then take some medicine and hope it goes away, like. So, I mean, it's a very slippery slope. But I do love that our community is waking up to the mental health conditions that are rampant throughout plaguing our communities. It's real, and we all have to be sensitive to it, because we all living in this world where we are exposed to this, whether we not like it or not. So, yeah. That's a big one. And then also, the biological factors, believe it or not, there are biological factors that contribute to self-sabotaging behaviors. Now, this is a little different than a mental disorder per se, because it's more like just personality traits that a person has maybe adopted through like ancestry, like things of and when you take on, I honestly believe that you can take on the thoughts of your parents that might not have been in the best interest, but because you learned them growing up, that's just kind of something that you take on naturally as your own, and then it'll contribute to your own, low self-control or impulsivity, or like, not being able to control your emotions. Like all of that will naturally then just spiral into the self-sabotage aspect. But that just gives it like that. I think, truth be told, although they are biological, I really do believe that you can tap in and become aware of that, and then work to control those, and in a way break those curses, that kind of were passed down, maybe not intentionally, but through maybe survival mechanisms and stuff like that your family had to go through or something. we just all can't discredit the histories that, the DNA that our ancestors and our history, have gone through.
Well, I think also too other disabilities. If you have other disabilities, those are biological as well.
Yeah, the further,
whether you're handicapped or other health issues and things like that as well.
Yeah, certainly the science side of it, for sure. Yeah, but really what it kind of boils down a lot to with self-sabotage is the negative thoughts about yourself and your abilities and the chances of your success. Because even though somebody has a disability, I'm sure we have all seen people overcome those, and be able to still have a very fulfilling and passionate and loving life. But because you don't allow, something like that to cripple you or give you those feelings of fear, anxiety, or worthlessness, or, all of those things just make it difficult to even try new things. And love is certainly one of those risky things that people are just like, oh, you got to give so much of yourself, the vulnerability that goes with it and stuff, so. I just think that will contribute to someone not really wanting to go into it because they might think, I'm not good enough. And then that will spiral into you not applying for certain jobs that will actually put you in the position to be able to take care of family or, go after your dreams or whatever, So
right.
Just think about how all of that contributes to self-sabotage for sure.
And perfectionism. I used to suffer a lot from perfectionism. Can also be a self-sabotaging thought pattern. People who are perfectionists often use unrealistic goals for themselves and beat themselves up when they don't achieve them. This can lead to procrastination, avoidance, and giving up on goals altogether. So, for example, someone who wants to get a perfect score on a test may procrastinate studying because they're afraid of failing.
Yeah. Now, these are just factors. These aren't the traits that we're going to get into about, whether dating time and the relationship marriage, those are totally different traits per se, but these are factors that hopefully, like we always say, awareness. That's what a lot of this is about. We like to break down kind of where these things may have come from so that you can have the awareness and then the power to change it for yourself because you're able to recognize, hey, this is, something that I'm going through. Let me then take the power back to be able to not allow these habits to control me. And instead, I coax that down and I control it myself. So, yeah.
And then fear of failure is another common thought pattern that can lead to self-sabotage.
Yeah.
People who are afraid of failure may avoid taking risks or taking new things because they're afraid of being disappointed or rejected. For example, someone who is afraid of public speaking may avoid giving presentations. And that's what I was talking about. Not presentation, but fear of failure in relationships. People who often at times will count themselves out before the relationship actually develop, and then often at times you can tell they're checking out because they're actually scared that their feelings are going to get hurt. They are going to get hurt because of past relationships.
Yeah,
that is a sign of self-sabotage, and you shouldn't do that.
That's so true.
And then also to substance abuse. It can be a contributing factor to self-sabotaging behavior. So when people use drugs or alcohol to cope with negative emotions or stress, they may be more likely to make impulsive decisions, of course, or engage in risky behavior that they wouldn't normally take part in.
Yeah, we can't underestimate how much our society likes to numb their emotions versus
escape.
Yeah, versus feeling them. That's not healthy, guys. We really have to normalize it when you feel rage or you feel stress or anxiety, just being able to have that go-to moment where you're able to, do the things that help you to calm down, relax your mind, ease your stress, whatever it is that's not necessarily something that's dependent upon some outside source. Because if that outside source were to disappear, you'd be SOL. Like you just, what will you do? And that's the importance of being able to control those emotions and bring yourself to a place of being able to find peace no matter what. It's so funny. I think of this week, our oldest son decided that we were going to have an anger jar. And it's not even like and it's so funny because he says, well, not that we really need it per se, but he's like, I think something he saw on like some or something like that. He was just saying how it's nice to have if you, are looking to control your emotions or something like that, to be able to put it in something that will give you, that discernment of, do I want to engage in this behavior or not? Because I have another option that, I kind of don't want to do either, which is give up money. Well, we said coins. Mm-hmm. So because of that, I see like our kids, they just naturally do not, they'll sit back and have that moment of thought of, I don't want to get angry at this moment, so I'm going to breathe. Like our kids will stop and go, they go and make that other choice because they don't want to. Well, now since this week, they don't want to put the money in the jar when they get upset with each other and fight, because, that's how siblings do. So it's just always nice to be able to have something else or something to remind you to do when you're actually feeling that stress versus, just letting it all out or numbing it with, something else. So, that's just something to consider.
And high pressure environments can also contribute to self-sabotaging behaviors. So when people feel like they're constantly under pressure to succeed, they may be more likely to make impulsive decisions or take risks when they wouldn't normally take them. So for example, a student or someone who is feeling stressed about exams may skip studying and procrastinate on assignments.
Yeah.
And then next, people who lack support from families or mentors are more likely to self-sabotage. So when people don't have anyone to encourage them or help them through difficult times, they may be more likely to give up on their goals.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that young man again last night who wanted custody of his son. It's very important for him to encourage his son, be that example for him so he can achieve things. Because I know my boys look up to me to complete tasks, and they like to see me complete different, handyman things around the house. And they look forward to that, especially when they break something. So this example. So another example is someone who is trying to lose weight, but doesn't have any friends or family members who support them to help them to achieve their goals. So they may be more likely to give up.
Yeah, that support system is big. And of course, all of these are just some simple factors that can really contribute to you doing self-sabotaging behaviors. But let's dig into what this could look like in your dating life. So if you are dating right now, this is really the section for you, because these are things you have to be aware of so that you're not doing this and that's actually, ruining your love life.
So go ahead and call your friends up and tell them hurry up, and they need to get on this live stream and tune in, because we're about to get into the dating aspect of self-sabotage, and they need to listen up. So let's see what this looks like.
Yeah. Well, the first one, of course, this is very common. We always talk about, but it is very rampant, setting those unrealistic expectations. You can't expect your spouse to be perfect, or, you can't expect yourself to be perfect. You're just setting yourself up for true disappointment. And that is a self-sabotaging behavior, because it will lead to frustration and resentment and just a whole lot of problems, because you're too focused on finding someone who just is 100% on that checklist versus someone who you are just naturally compatible with, or, someone who you enjoy spending time with. That means probably that friend that you just put in the friend zone, but you love spending time with them. That friend is probably someone who you could consider making it a romantic relationship, especially if you guys are compatible. It doesn't have to be that, unrealistic expectation of what they would look like, what they would smell like, what they would dress
how
like,
much money
what they would drive,
what car they drive, house.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, I would like to, let the Instagram people know that our YouTube, you don't have anything up, right?
Nah, not today.
Not today,
because the question was so simple. It was
but we also have HD quality sound and audio as well, which we don't have on Instagram. But you all are also able to subscribe and like our videos on YouTube. And also, too, we've made it over 300 subscribers.
Oh, yeah. Thank
on
you,
YouTube.
Thank you.
And we're cool. Well over 6,500 something on Instagram. So we really appreciate all of the support. So, all right. So we can continue on. So someone who's playing games. So if you're trying to make your partner jealous or chase you, the thrill of the chase, you're only going to push them away. Or, but I've seen people actually enjoy those though, chasing. But what happens afterwards is that they dump them So playing games is a sign of insecurity and immaturity. It is, and it's not attractive to most people. Be honest and upfront about your intentions, and let your partner know how you feel. Because a lot of people play games in the dating realm. They love the hunt, especially men who out here being players. They love the hunt of trying to you know um, it, turn their female partner into someone that they are sleeping with. They love to find females and sleep with them and have sex with them and take them out on dates. But after all of that is over with, what happens? They stop calling. They stop calling you up, and all of a sudden things change. So that's what we're talking about here as far as playing those games. Like, they don't have any intentions with you at all, but to just sleep with you. And after you sleep with them, that's it. They're gone. So you have to practice discernment, right? Discernment in order to figure out whether this person is real or not.
Yeah. It also makes me think of, on the woman's aspect, playing games of, if you are interested in a guy and you just refuse to hit them up because you're like, oh, they got to hit me up first, or oh, I ain't gonna respond until like another 3 hours so that they know that I ain't wrapped up in them or whatever. Like, to me, that's playing games, because if you are interested in this guy, the guy's gonna want to know that, hey, you're thinking about them too. You're going to be reliable and answer their calls and texts when they call and text you. That's a good sign of being trustworthy and someone that they can depend on. So don't play the game like, oh, I ain't sweating you, when you really are, because you could really be self-sabotaging and missing out, because the guy may get the wrong signal, and then you're like, dang, he done moved on with old Susie over there because I'm over here playing these games. So just got to be careful with that. Games are not fun. Not all the time.
Yep. And then not communicating your needs.
Yeah.
So if you don't communicate your needs to your partner, you're not going to know what you want or need.
Yeah.
So this can lead to resentment and frustration, and it can eventually kill the relationship. So be open and honest with your partner about what you want and need, and be willing to compromise. Yeah. That's the biggest part. Be willing to compromise. So more than likely, you're not going to get everything that you want from the relationship, but you have to be willing to compromise with your partner.
Yeah,
to find common ground.
And believe it or not, that's actually a form of self-sabotaging as well, when you're not willing to compromise. Because if you're not willing to compromise within a relationship, like you said, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because how in the world is the relationship going to progress if you're not willing to give and take from it? As it requires compromise. If you're not willing to do your part and come forth with some type of resolution that you both can live with, because that's what compromise is about. You're not always going to get exactly what you want, but it's something you both can live with. If you can't do this, then your relationship's going to crumble eventually, because something is going to, or multiple things are going to keep coming up that you guys aren't going to be able to compromise with. You really got to meet your spouse halfway. You got to give a little, let go of a little. That's, if you don't, that is for sure self-sabotaging. For sure.
Being too clingy. So it's important to give your partner some space. So if you're constantly texting them, calling them, and waiting to spend all your time with them, you're going to suffocate them. So give them some time to themselves and let them miss you. Is that right? I saw this thing about why married couples, or either couples who are dating, often at times get tired of each other quickly, especially when they come home from work, is because they've been talking to each other all day on the phone, texting each other while they're at work. Yeah. So it seems as if they haven't had a break from each other. Now, that's for some relationships. Thank you. That's for some relationships. It depends on what your boundaries are. Being too clingy for you may be a good thing. You might be a clingy person, and your spouse may be too. Y'all might just hold and cuddle each other while you all are walking all over the place and going places and things. So that may fit for you, but I would say that this one it depends.
Yeah, not dating. I think once you've gotten to the marriage part, sure. And y'all
but you may be dating somebody who's clingy as hell.
Yeah, that is true. If you maybe both are.
And I think that's healthy, to be honest with you. But for the, some people may think that that's, suffocate. Like, they still like their space, or it's too soon.
Yes, when you're dating, you got to be
Yeah.
aware of that.
Don't
Like,
try to move in with the person after, 3 weeks of
Mhm.
dating.
Mhm.
That looks suspicious. It's
Or
like,
just
oh, you
pop
need
up
a
at their job all the time or wherever they're at,
right.
Yeah, or
That
follow them around. Yeah.
that kind of seems. Well, I think that trying to move in so soon is kind of suspicious, because it may seem as if you are trying to get with that person in order to have a roommate, and you
Yeah.
don't want that to happen. But it's better earlier than later when you find things out that, oh, this person wasn't intentional at all. They just wanted a roommate.
Yeah, and you'll
You
have
know.
more to talk about, I think, honestly, when you spend time apart. Like, we're always together. We've never spent a day apart in over 10 years now, but you spend time away at work. And so those 8, 10, 9, 10 hours that you're gone, we, don't talk too much, but then when you come home, it gives you a lot to talk about, and you want to, and I enjoy that because you're excited to share a lot that's happened with you for the day. So just to be able to offer that. And then, same here. It's a lot to be able to share. So it gives you more to talk about when you spend that time, doing the things that you enjoy or, allowing yourself to miss you. But I certainly understand what you're saying with if you are a person where you really love your relationship and you just go all in. Because I think about kind of when we first did start dating, I'm thinking, college almost 15 years ago, we were, talking a lot, but, not seeing each other every day, but we talked all day long,
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just about finding that healthy balance of what will work for you and your spouse while dating and being open about that and communicating. So that goes right back to the previous one. You have to communicate your needs. And if you are a person who wants your spouse to communicate, just say that. Like, I like it when you talk to me or you update me throughout your day. Or if you are one who needs a little space when you come home from work, or you need that time, to yourself or to your friends or whatever on, whatever time, then just actually being able to allow yourself that is big and would be really helpful in the relationship as well. Because then you're both like, comfortable and able to move and operate in what, your comfort levels are.
Or either, you could look at it as an opportunity to recharge. Sometimes, in the relationship, you just, the man has his man cave and the woman has her she shed or whatever the case may be. That those times when you all like to decompress and like to actually be in a different area of the house or different place, in order to gather yourself and recharge so you can come back into the relationship. Not necessarily saying that something's wrong with the relationship, but some people just need to do that. Especially if you're dating, that means you still probably have other friends that you hang out with. So you could see it that way too. If the guy still likes to go out with his buddies to the bar or whatever the case may be, or hobbies, they do certain hobbies, you don't necessarily always have to tag along your girlfriend. To go hunting or whatever the case may be, or I don't know, playing basketball or, playing, I don't know, doing stuff with guys. That they, going out and stuff like that, especially during dating. So you can still go out with your friends while you're dating. I think so. So you still have your social,
that's totally healthy.
You still have your social space. It's not like you all are married with the children yet. So you're still single.
But even then, I still think the respect of having your autonomy still exists, in a way, that's still important.
Your own hobbies, your own interests,
Yeah, that's important. Yep.
Yeah, but also being too critical. So if you're constantly criticizing your partner, they're going to start to feel like they can't do anything right.
Yeah.
So that leaves them walking on eggshells. So this can lead to low self-esteem and resentment, and they can eventually destroy the relationship. Be supportive and encouraging, and focus on the positive aspects of your partner.
Yeah, I think that's big when it comes to dating in particular.
And that comes to generalizing. You always never answer your phone. You always wait too long to call me back. All that stuff. So being too critical.
And not expecting your spouse to be perfect or always pointing out flaws.
That's the quickest way to get your spouse to pick somebody else.
Yeah.
To end your relationship and to go with somebody else.
Yeah, that is, and it may not seem like it's self-sabotaging, but when you're forever focused on the negative aspects of
stuff,
the negative aspects of your spouse, then naturally your spouse is going to also think about the negative aspects of you, because that's kind of where you guys will be holding within your mind and the thought and the connection that you have with each other. So I always like to say you have holding a positive thought of your spouse in your mind, even, when they mess up. And I think in particular too, that is a wonderful way to show you ready to be a wife, and to be a wife to a man in particular, especially if you want him to lead you, which he needs to be able to lead you as your husband. You don't want to be critical of his every single move, because that's not going to let him feel that acceptance from you, that approval, that love, that, the comfort and security of, if I do mess up, you're not going to be the one to beat me down. Pretty much, you're going to be the one that's going to uplift me. You're going to be the one that's going to support me. You're going to be the one that's still going to stand by me, and and let me go through what I need to go through. And that's really important for women sometimes, because we love to offer advice, and we love to, offer our expertise of what we think, would be helpful. But when it comes to the dynamic of a husband and a wife, it's really important that you allow your man to make his mistakes and not need your unsolicited advice on how he should be doing something better, because that's not going to help him do anything better. In fact, what would help him more is if you were to allow him to make his mistakes and support him during these mistakes, so that he can learn on his own how to then move better, how to then become a better leader, learn whatever the lesson he needed to learn, so that then he can apply it as experience and wisdom. If you're not offering that safe space for him to do so, it's not going to cultivate him as a good man and him to grow and, really support you all and your family. Because, it's going to be nervous. Like, damn, I can't tell my wife, or I can't tell my girlfriend because she's going to cuss me out, So just being able to cultivate that environment is important, I think.
And then next,
the last one. This is actually number 7 for dating.
Not being over your ex.
Yeah.
So if you're still hung up over your ex, you're not ready to start a new relationship. Bottom line. Stop that rebounding stuff. Yeah. Go get some help. Get some counseling as far as your feelings. Somebody talk that stuff out with yourself and somebody else, so that you can heal. So you need to take some time to heal from your past relationships before you can move on. If you're not over your ex in your previous relationship, you're going to bring your baggage into the new relationship. Stop doing that. And it's going to sabotage things, make things bad for you. Yeah. Trust me, especially if you hung up and talking about this person in your new relationship. That's utterly disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't move on. And that's unfortunate. Or even worse, you're not able to enjoy your new spouse, know, because you're just dwelling in the past. And if you're anxious, worried, and all that stuff, or they say you're in the anxious is you're in the future, but when you're worried and stuff, then you're more maybe in the past, like depending on fear-based and all that other stuff. So in particular, you're just not able to enjoy the present, like you right there with your spouse and loving them. And yeah, that's why you're with them. You're not with your ex anymore. So kind of move on so you don't self-sabotage. Don't even think about them, especially if it wasn't healthy. I think the only thing you need to take from your past relationship is what you could have done better, or even better, what to look out for in the next spouse, or what, I guess, what is it? Not redefining, but refining what it is you're looking for in a spouse, because you were exposed to obviously what you didn't want in a spouse.
Right. You need to be more vigilant. You need to take what you've learned, apply it to wisdom, put it into your new relationship, the healthy, positive things, and also your maturity. So growing up from your past relationship, if you're the one who messed up, you need to be more mature than you were in your last relationship. That's the bottom line. Yeah. Show all signs of loyalty and commitment, because one day you may have to explain why your relationship failed. Yeah. And you're going to have to win over that person that you're dating, and let them see that you're the guy or the woman for them. But it's, people, especially if they've been wronged in a relationship. So, they're going to think that, oh, damn, I done picked a cheater again, so what's going to happen here? So should I trust this person or should I not? And then don't expect this person to take that, information lightly. They may have some, anxieties and may be kind of off put about you, but rightfully so. You don't reward cheaters, right? You don't.
Yeah.
I believe everyone deserves a second chance. Trust me. But that is your ultimate test, and that's the reason why I believe that the boyfriend and girlfriend, the dating realm, is the audition for marriage. Of course, it is.
Yeah.
So we need to keep it that way. We need to, recognize it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here are 7 sabotaging habits that can ruin your marriage.
Yeah. So we're heading on to what it looks like in a relationship.
Yep.
Definitely very similar. Of course, you don't want to do the same things from dating and take it into a marriage, because that's definitely a no-go. But these are different behaviors that you also should be aware of, so that you do not do this in your own marriage.
Yep. And this is what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to read it, or you? So not communicating. Communication is key to any healthy relationship, but it's especially important in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not communicating with your spouse, you're not giving them a chance to understand you or your needs, this can lead to resentment, frustration, ultimately the end of the relationship. Communicate your boundaries, communicate your desires, communicate your goals, overly communicate, communicate for understanding. The worst thing you can do is not communicate and just let things happen, because things will happen in your relationship, and you're going to wonder why there's somebody else eating your food in your in your house because you didn't communicate boundaries. Oh, so I can't have a boyfriend or girlfriend in my marriage. No, you can't. That type of stuff. I mean, because
it happens.
It happens, y'all.
We've heard some stories.
Yeah,
we have.
I saw something. Matter of fact, on the internet, this woman, the guy's mistress, was cooking him dinner. And then the wife came home from work.
New.
Yeah, and she was mad as hell. Damn, that's wild. Don't do that. Don't.
Yeah, you gotta set that up. If you're gonna, we've had a polygamy question, and we this isn't really a topic that we've so much explored or so much desired to. But if that is your choice of what you choose to do, I'm all for free will. It wasn't
polygamy though. He was
right.
Cheating.
That's what I'm saying. Like if that's what you want to do, then y'all gotta talk about that. Like if that's something you're interested in, you gotta set all that up and talk about all that.
Right. I mean, you need to talk about, if you choose that route, you need to talk about all aspects: child care, child rearing, what that looks like, which is going to be weird. I think that's weird. And money, who's paying what, living wills, who gonna get what if somebody expires, all of that, because a lot of those people in those situations don't do all of that, and then that causes a lot of problems.
Yeah. But even in a healthy marriage, we kind of digress to a not so healthy one, but
yeah,
but a healthy one, you certainly need to communicate that if you are thinking even about cheating. If that's something, if you're not being pleased in your relationship, talk about that. Like, don't just
let it happen and you be all hard up and
go
upset,
and
full of resentment and frustration, and ultimately looking for ways to end your relationship. Yeah, don't do that.
Just you gotta communicate about every little thing, even if you think it's gonna hurt your spouse. Like, you gotta talk about it. Like, you want to, even if you really do care and you love and you want to move your relationship along. And if you don't, communicate that too, so y'all ain't wasting each other's time, and then y'all can start communicating on how y'all gonna get, get out of it, figure things out in a way that's healthy for everyone involved. Like, there's no way around communicating, and if you're not communicating, you are self-sabotaging, point blank, period. It don't matter how you look at it. You may say it's the other person. Nah, if you're not communicating, you're self-sabotaging.
Yep. Yeah. And keeping score. Yeah. So in a healthy marriage, both partners should be willing to give and take. If you're consistently keeping track of who did what for whom, or who did what to whom, you're going to create a resentful and hostile environment. Instead, focus on being grateful for what your spouse does for you, and don't expect anything in return.
Yeah, I don't like that when spouses want to hold things over, well, I did
Grudges.
this for you. Yeah, like not just grudges, but just like you do something for your spouse and you expecting them, well, oh, I did this, so you got to do this. Like, no, that is not the love. You do something for your spouse because you love them, and you genuinely shouldn't really be caring about what's coming back except for more love and respect in their own form of how they choose to do it. Don't be like specifically saying, well, you got to buy me this Gucci bag or whatever,
Right.
just because I did that, or if
Now,
whatever.
now don't get that confused, because what I do is I fix stuff in the house, and then I let my wife know, hey, honey, I did this.
Yeah,
I put this ceiling fan up. I'm not trying
that's
to.
different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just different. I mean, for those people out there who may confuse that type of
But even so,
communication.
still, that is rightfully so a moment where you deserve and should receive that respect and appreciation from me and our children and our household for you doing that, because that is something that you did and you don't have to do it. Like, so even in moments like that, it's important to be grateful and not. We talked about that, I think, last night, or appreciation was one of those things that should get better with time in your relationship, and it really genuinely should. Every time, like all day long, you should look to seek to appreciate each other, because you're going to breed more things to appreciate about each other if you're constantly in that state. It's just, natural of how that's going to go. So, but there's a complete difference between saying, oh, well, I did this, so you got
You
to
ain't
do
do
this.
nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I cooked last night, so you got to cook this night. Or I did this and you got to do that. Like, that tallying up of trying to keep score of one another is not a true
That's a competition.
teamwork.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're competing against each other.
Yeah. And we say partners, but when we mean partners, is much different than, I guess, what some people would say as, husband and wife. But we really do think of it as like a team and something that you're supposed to do together, because you are that team and you both have to give as much as you possibly can, and then also let each other know when you don't have much to give, and be able to pick up where the other one is lacking, and be okay with that too, because that is what a true relationship is all
supporting
about.
each other.
Yeah, it really
in the
is.
time of need.
And if you aren't, and if you are the one that's keeping score, then you're self-sabotaging. You are. Just, it's not helpful. It's really not. And it's not nice. It's not loving and kind. And yeah, that's a woman in me. So yeah.
And then comparing your spouse to others. It's natural to compare your spouse to others sometimes, but if you do it too often, it can be destructive to your relationship. I don't even think that's natural.
Well, I think the only time it would be natural is to point out, like, oh, my husband does this. I do it, like, if I see like other dads and they're doing something, and I'd be like, oh, like my husband does that too. Like, those are some good men. You know what I mean? Like, things
I was
like
thinking
that.
the opposite. Like, my husband don't do that, or my wife, don't do that. She'll never do that.
Yeah, that's holding in that. Yeah, the negative comparison.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But
yeah, but even if you do that, just communicate about that. Speak on that.
So no one is perfect, and comparing your spouse to someone who is going to make you feel invalid,
and make them
inadequate.
Feel inadequate.
Yeah. Instead, focus on appreciating your spouse for who they are.
Sorry, yes, but that is so true. Like, the feeling of, oh, this person is doing this, so you got to do that too. Or even comparing like marriages, or like progress of your friends' relationships. Like, oh, he brought her this big house, or oh, he did this, he brought her this car. Stuff. Yeah, like doing all of that. That's not helpful. It's very destructive, and it is self-sabotaging your relationship, because your spouse is not going to be happy in this. They're going to constantly feel like, oh, they're not good enough, and you're not loving them and appreciating them and giving them the approval that you both should want to give each other in a relationship. Like, hey, I see you no matter where we're at. I see you and I'm proud of you and I appreciate you. That goes a long way. And for the man and the woman, y'all have to be comfortable doing that, and not so much. They said the comparison is the thief of happiness, or whatever the quote is, but that's so true. Because you don't want to compare yourself, especially in the social media age we live in. You just want to watch and think, oh, my life has to be like that too. When it doesn't. Your life is your life, and it's beautiful just the way it is. And you really just have to learn to appreciate that first in order to even get to the next part.
And then holding grudges. So if you're holding onto grudges against your spouse, it's going to be very difficult to move forward in your relationship.
Yeah.
Falling into anger, holding on to anger and resentment is only going to poison your marriage. So if you're struggling to forgive your spouse, it's important to seek professional help, of course.
Yes. And that's not even that's understated in a way, because I think forgiveness is pretty much the right along with appreciation. I think forgiveness goes hand in hand of one of the like things you just have to have a lot of within your relationship, especially in a marriage. If you're wanting to commit to a marriage lifelong, that's a long time. So you're going to have to get used to forgiving them, even when it's hard, even when they do what you may consider the most unforgivable thing. You signed up for a marriage. I think one of the worst things that they could have added onto a reasoning for a divorce is irreconcilable differences. I'm not a fan of that in particular, because it gives you that out.
A cop out.
Yeah, the easy cop out versus having that place of, let me work to find forgiveness for my spouse, because I need to have that in order for our relationship to build. And in particular, it also gives you a cop out for making sure that your spouse is the one you should be married to anyway from the very beginning, because you just can get on out. But yeah, don't hold grudges. It's no good. You really try to.
We need to talk about those grudges.
I was about to say, have we ever done a show on grudges? I don't know if we've ever had a question on grudges, or we've done anything on that. But grudges, and actually how to be forgiving towards your spouse, because that is probably a very difficult task depending on what you're trying to forgive. Mm-hmm. But I do honestly believe that forgiveness can be achieved in your relationship, no matter what you guys go through, if the love and the genuine interest in moving forward is there from both spouses. So that might be something we could talk about more into.
Yeah, why not?
Worth it. Yeah. Of course, not being willing to compromise. We talked about that for the dating, but that's very much one that's going to roll over into a self-sabotaging behavior for marriage as well. If you constantly think that it has to be your way or the highway within your marriage, then, that is unhealthy. And it's going to create a very unhealthy environment for you all to live in.
You can't resolve
conflict.
anything.
No, you cannot conflict resolve.
Yeah, not impossible. At all. Because that's the second step to conflict resolution in a marriage. To sum it up, is being able to compromise. And if you can't compromise and you're not willing to, both of you are going to lose.
Yeah.
In a major way, not in a small way of compromising, but you both are going to distance yourself apart. Yeah. Make things very difficult for you to communicate
and meet your spouse halfway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
So you got to be willing to do that. Willing to put their needs ahead of yours sometimes.
Yeah, that sometimes happen, and that could be a hard pill to swallow.
Don't be selfish.
Yeah, what was it with the Daily Wrap-Up crew? One of their posts, I think they actually chopped up, was talking about selflessness. Mm-hmm. They were talking about like the competition and selflessness. I can't really remember, but that just makes me think of just the fact that selflessness is very uncommon, I guess, within our society right now, which is a shame. That's how we got it. It's like nobody thinks of anybody else.
If there were less selfish people in this world, there would be more marriages. There will be more relationships.
Yeah.
There will be less divorce. Mm-hmm. But all these people are doing all this stuff out of selfishness.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why we love doing what we do, in particular, to help people to come into a more awareness of how you can create a world where everyone cares not just about themselves, but other people as well, right? Because that really benefits us as a whole, as a society.
And I was just taken aback too, like speaking of the Daily Wrap-Up crew, that video that we did with them, and the comments in that section of all those women who said, "Nah, I'm good," as far as like pouring into your husband and being supportive. I was like, wow, there's really something going on out here where women just don't, they talk about men not wanting to get into relationships and avoiding relationships. And I kind of see why now, because women are not wanting to be supportive in relationships, and they themselves are also selfish.
Yeah.
So now you got men being selfish and women being selfish, and you all are at a stalemate as far as relationships go. So,
yeah,
until somebody, these people are, men and women are competing, and until somebody gives up and folds and becomes like a beta in the situation, or the relationship, then that's the only way it will work eventually.
Well, I don't even think it has to be that so much, because you don't when it comes to trying to build, you don't have to fold.
No, but their attitudes and their personalities are so strong and stubborn that they don't want to work with anybody. In order to work with those type of people, you have to be, at their every whim. You have to bow down to them and try to please them all the time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they make it, people with those type of personalities make it very hard to be in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
I would say any type of relationship, even a friendship. I don't want to be in a friendship with somebody who acts that way, that they're very selfish and all they talk about them is themselves all the time, and what they have and what they do, and they probably brag a lot, and they're real selfish, gaudy in their what they talk about, and very worldly in their views and all that stuff. I would check out of that friendship.
Yeah, it's not very attractive or appealing. Not at all. Yeah, that's true. And that actually leads right on to the next actual self-sabotaging behavior that is unhealthy within a relationship and marriage, and that's not being supportive. You said that a lot of, I guess, the aspect of being supportive can be hard, I guess, for some people during this time if they are selfish. But that's one of those things where you have got to get over and really be able to understand that there are going to be times where you have to support your spouse through a tough time, through any type of time where they may be down, or just need your help and your support. You got to be able to do that in order to not have them feel alone and isolated. And if you're unable to give them that support, you're not showing that you're trustworthy and that you're going to be there for them when they need you to be there for them. And that's what a relationship is about. You should be the person that they call first when things go right, and first when things go wrong. That's exactly really what you want, no matter what, within your relationship. So if you can't do that, then the relationship is certainly not for you. And again, a lot of that is fear.
Right.
Our society has a lot of fear to get over and work through, but it can be done. It really, really can be done. Really, if you actually are interested in getting over that. Or you can allow your fear to stricken you and ruin your love life altogether by you not even engaging in one and having a healthy relationship because you're scared. So fear, we talk about fear a lot because it's I think our third dimensional world, in a sense, is fear is one of those lessons that you just got to get over. I think fear is rooted within everything.
Think of children, they're scared of the dark, they're scared of loud noises, they're scared of big machines or whatever the case may be, things that are bigger than them.
Yeah.
So, we naturally start life out as with fear, but that's a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
To, let us know that things are not safe and what have you.
Or to be on alert and stuff. But that is also one thing that you have to be able to be discerning about as well. When your fear is actually rooted in a reason for you to be fearful, or is it rooted in trauma? Yeah. And that is the huge discerning part that people have to be able to recognize in order to, I think, move to that next level of thought, or even level of life you want to live. If that is moving into a relationship or going into abundance or whatever it is, you got to get over your fears in order to do that. So
yep. And then not being intimate. So intimacy is an important part of any healthy marriage. If you're not intimate with your spouse, you're not going to create distance. You're going to create distance and disconnect in your relationship. So make time for intimacy, even when you're busy. Again, make time for intimacy, even when you're busy. If you're working 24/7, then take some time off to show your wife that you're there with her and want to have a good time with her.
Or do it before you start working.
Right. It's important to connect with your spouse on a physical level as well as an emotional level. I know someone now who I need to ask them about that. How are they building intimacy in their relationship?
Yeah.
That's very important.
It is, because and underrated.
A lot of people, a lot of times when you find yourself in a relationship where you're competing with your spouse, you're not intimate at all. and the competition is seeing who's going to be intimate with who first,
Mm-hmm.
who's going to initiate first, and that's like
Mm-hmm.
everything. Who's going to initiate apologizing first? Who's going to initiate? Because now you're looking at it as a competition to see who's going to fold first, who's going to bow down first, and it shouldn't be that way. That's so um that's disgusting in a relationship, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's either self-sabotage or intentional. If you're actively choosing not to engage in intimacy with your spouse, then yeah, it's certainly self-sabotaging in the way of you're the one that's doing the sabotaging of the relationship. But also, if you don't have attraction for your spouse, or you're not, or something's gone wrong, or whether that's within you or the dynamics of your relationship, whatever that is, that has to be worked on, because you have to have intimacy in your marriage, you in your relationship. You really do. That's in our Wife's Economics course. I think it's week 5 where we dig into, in week 5 we dig deep into the aspect of intimacy and how important that is, and building it up. And we go into lots of studies and lots of actual data that shows the time frame from something as starting as like 1 week to like leading into like 3 months, to how it just will show each week how much the intimacy will impact your relationship, to where if you get to like 3 months, you're basically downhill from there, and you're going to end up within a divorce. It's like written in stone. So it's like you either pick and choose whether you're going to engage in intimacy with your spouse, or you're going to ruin your relationship one way or another, whether your spouse is going to cheat.
Purpose. So either that's the intention.
Yep, either they're going to cheat or
women,
what.
Women, and I think most of women probably try to do that, set their spouses up, or either some men. It's crazy that you'll get this far into a relationship.
I think women more so, because men, like, they in a relationship, they don't have sex with their spouse,
Yeah, or either their other way is cheating,
right,
in the relationship. So
right, but not without them probably have trying to sleep with their spouse. Yeah, women more so. One thing that I have heard, which I am not a fan of, but I've heard too many times, is women using medical excuses, not rooted in legit medical reasoning, for why you're not having intimacy. Why you're not having intimacy with your spouse. Like just coming up with cop-outs or reasons of getting out of it. But you're only damaging your relationship if you do that. And that's
right. And that means you're in the relationship for all the wrong reasons.
You're hoping to get something else out of it, whether it's money or, whatever.
Security, financially, financial security. All of that.
Maybe a kid. I don't know. You have sex just for the kid and then you're done. I don't know. Like it's a lot of reasons, but you can't do that. You got to remember too, you get karma within your relationship as well. So if you're doing bad things and breeding an unhealthy dynamic between you and your spouse, that karma is going to come back, whether that's in the form of you not getting what you wanted out of your relationship, or your spouse hurting you in a way that's extremely painful, like whatever it is, like those things are going to happen. So, or even worse, you putting yourself in irresponsible situations to where you are the one that's doing something that you shouldn't be doing, or whatever. So yeah, it's just really important. You doing those things is going to keep your intimacy alive. That's super important.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that is it. If I'm looking, I think that is all 7. We've gone through all of them in particular for both dating and marriage. So hopefully you guys have recognized what they would look like, and hopefully you're not engaging in any of these. And if you're not, great job. You're right on track. Your relationship should be good to go. Your dating relationship should be good to go. But if you do happen to see that you're engaging in some of these self-sabotaging ways, it's okay. Recognize it, whether dating or marriage, step back, reevaluate.
Do better.
Yep, do better. Come up with a plan, a solution to move forward in a healthier way, especially if you're serious about making your relationship work. Yeah. Yep. You got to be willing to change.
Yep. And be honest with yourself about what you're doing wrong, and make commitments to change.
Yeah.
So with time and effort, you can overcome your self-sabotaging habits and build a stronger and lasting marriage. So consider getting help, whether through coaching from a couple like us, who are happily married, or a licensed therapist who should also be happily married themselves. Make sure you vet your therapist.
Yeah.
Vet the people that you're talking to, whether it's a family member. Make sure that they are also happily married without any bias.
Yeah. That's big. We always talk about that, but you want to talk to somebody that has the results that you're looking to get.
Yeah, exactly.
If you ain't talking to them, then they're not even vibrationally aligned with what it is you're looking to get out of your life. And there's no way that they can give you that advice from that objective point of view, that objective state of being, if they're not there themselves. And that's the realest jewel I think we could have dropped tonight. I'm just kidding.
With that being said, anybody have any questions, comments?
Yeah, let's
concerns?
check it out. Let's see.
Nope.
I don't see anything on Instagram. Another Full House. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you all for joining us.
And YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in and hanging on out with us for a whole hour every day. And comment was, wow, that's amazing. Thank you. Yep. We hope so. I like that people get stuff from this. I think that's us naturally. We hope to leave y'all with something that's of real value and actually have a real conversation. Sometimes I'd be like, dang, ain't nobody talking. Do they even like us? But then I realized y'all be hanging on for a whole hour. Y'all must be getting something from it. So
cool. Like I said, we're up here preaching. It's like in church, everybody just sit in there and be quiet and cheer us on and things like that. No, we really appreciate the comments, and also to our subscribers who come back over and over again. We really appreciate you all. And spread the word about the show. Show it to your family and friends, especially those people who may need this information and advice. Because this is free. This information is free, and hopefully what we're doing is taking out the guesswork in relationships and in all relationships at that. So
we're letting God work through this channel. That's what I always like to say. This is for that opportunity for God to really work through and utilize us,
So with that being said, Blueprint family, thank you all for coming out tonight. And until next time, we will see you.
And